Hi, I'm Julie.
And I'm Echo. We've been working together for about 15 years, and we have seen a lot of templates in that time. Today, we're going to walk you through the most important things we look at when we're reviewing a PowerPoint template to see if it functions well. We believe that a template should work well for everyone who uses it.
Now, thousands of steps go into building a PowerPoint template, so we don't want you to think that our top 10 covers everything. But we hope by seeing some of the things that we look for, you can use some of these tips to make your templates more efficient. Let's start with number 10. Echo?
One of the very first things that we look at on a template is the file size. When we're doing a template consultation, we ask our clients to send us their current template. And it's actually not completely uncommon for them to say, oh yeah, we'd love to, but it's too large to email. When that happens, we know immediately, right from the get-go, that we have a problem. A 60 megabyte template isn't helping anyone. What we want you to remember here is the template size will be the starting point for every deck that you create from it. So if your template is 5 megabytes, then every presentation will be at least 5 megabytes and probably larger. If your template is 60 megabytes, then every single presentation will start at 60 megabytes. Now, just to be clear, we are talking about the underlying template structure itself, those masters and layouts. Sometimes a template creator will add lots of example slides to a template, and that's what causes the large file size. But maybe the underlying template structure isn't so big. And that's actually not really a problem because users will often delete all of those example slides from their presentations. So you can check this on your own PowerPoint templates to see if example slides are contributing too much to your template file size or if it's the actual underlying template structure itself. What you'll do is delete all of the sample slides and then save the file with a new name. Open Windows File Manager, right-click the file, and check the file properties. If the file properties are under 5 or 6 meg at this point, then you're probably fine. One thing that will add unnecessary file size is super high resolution and oversized images. We recommend using NX Powerlight or WeCompress to compress the images and get the file size down. NXP and WeCompress do a really good job of compressing images and they still maintain the quality. So we always recommend that you use those instead of PowerPoint's picture compression because we feel like they do a better job. Also, be sure to think about how you're using those images because background textures and landscapes really don't need to be very high resolution. A couple of other things that can affect your file size. If you've applied PowerPoint artistic effects to any of your images, PowerPoint adds that as a layer to the image so that you can go back and undo those changes later if you want. It's really super helpful, but it can also add a lot of extra pixels to your file. If you have images with artistic effects, we suggest that you copy and paste special, and that will marry that effects layer to the image layer and decrease the file size. Also, embedded fonts can add file size, especially if you're using fonts with unique characters for specific languages. Those are generally the kinds of things that we start looking at when we're trying to figure out why a template is too big. Our advice for number 10, keep the file size under 5 meg for a portable template. Over to you, Julie.
Okay, number 9. Well, we always look at the names of the slide master and the slide layouts. In normal or editing view, when you look at the new slide gallery or the layouts gallery, you're going to see the slide master name up at the top and all of the layout thumbnails and their names. This is where folks are going to be looking when they want to choose a new slide layout. Now, Office Theme is the name of this slide master, and some of the layout names in this file are 1_ title slide or 1_ title and content. Now, unfortunately, we see this a lot. This happens when you duplicate a layout that's already in there. PowerPoint automatically adds a 1_ or 2_ because it just can't work with identical slide layout names. And this is not very helpful for people who are going to be looking for the just right slide layout in their presentation. Now, it's easy to fix this. When you switch to slide master view, This is where you, as the template builder, create the pre-formatted slide layouts that are going to show up in normal view. To rename a slide master, you select the top one, the slide master thumbnail, and you can choose rename from the home tab on the ribbon, or you can right click on that slide master and choose rename master. Give the slide master a descriptive name. Now you can repeat this for a slide layout also. Right click and choose rename layout, or select rename on the ribbon. You want to strive for descriptive names, recognizable at a glance. So those names should be brief, and you really want to make them short so that you can see that entire slide layout name in those smaller galleries. Here's a few: title and 2/3 content, and light title and 2/3 content, or full frame image with text, or quotation. Maybe 4 topics with icons, picture with quote. You get the idea. Keep them short and keep them descriptive. Now, our advice for number 9 is provide descriptive names for the slide master and the slide layouts. Echo, what about number 8?
Well, you just showed them how to rename the slide master, but a lot of people don't realize that you don't need more than one master in a file. In fact, we've found that multiple slide masters are difficult for users to understand. If you click the bottom of the new slide button, you can see all the masters used in a file. This is a file that we received from a client. It has 13 different masters. Each master shows up as its own separate section in the new slide gallery. Now, some of the masters have 1 layout, some of them have 7 or 8, and some of them have more, and some have just a very small, subtle difference. The first problem here is you have to scroll, and you have to scroll a lot to see what layout options are actually available to you. The second problem is the layouts change order depending on what slide you've selected. Now, in this case, my slide is using the slide master at the top. It's called 2 white inside 2 with a 150-year logo. And I think you can see that if your layouts look similar, it can be really difficult to determine which set of layouts you're using and if it's the right one. I think sometimes people build templates this way because they don't realize you can override the formatting on the slide master to create unique layouts all under the same master. Now, here's an example of a template file I created probably about 10 years ago. I was trying to use the slide masters to help organize the layouts. And what you see here is content layouts at the top, and then things like title slides and dividers and agenda and like that at the bottom. And it's not as bad as that one that we were just looking at, but it's still not very good. One problem is the order of the masters will still change depending on which slide you've selected. And it's really, really confusing for users. It's honestly so much better to add all of the layouts under one master, which is what we've actually done here for both files, so you can see how that looks and how that works. You can change those background styles if you need a dark layout, but you're using a light master, and vice versa. And Julie's going to show you that in a little bit. Use the custom layouts feature to set up the layouts you need instead of creating separate masters for everything. So our advice for number 8, keep all layouts under one master. Julie.
Now at number 7, we have theme fonts. Now, when you create new slide content with a PowerPoint template, you expect the fonts to be consistent throughout. However, if that template was built improperly, you could experience a font mismatch. On this sample slide, the title's text is shown as 20th century MT bold. And the text typed into that content placeholder on the right appears as 20th century regular. Notice how the numbers line up nice and neatly. Now look what happens when you insert a table into that same content placeholder. It doesn't look like 20th century. The font has changed. Look at the numbers. They're no longer nicely aligned. The same thing happens when you insert a chart. All of our access labels are now in the font Georgia. What's going on here? Let's take a peek at the slide master. Now, even though the placeholder has been set to 20th century MT, when you open up the theme fonts gallery, you see that Georgia is defined as the font for the headings and the body. The template creator manually changed those placeholders to 20th century. This is what causes a font mismatch. All your galleries and all your content are going to pull from these theme fonts. That means charts, tables, smart art, default shapes, and your text box. They're going to use these theme fonts. Now, one note about theme fonts in Excel, all of your text uses the theme body font with one exception. There's a built-in title style that uses the theme heading font. Our advice for number 7 for both PowerPoint and Excel, set up a font theme for your template. Now, you want to do this before formatting the slide master and the layouts so that all the fonts are automatically applied throughout. I'm going to cover 6 as well, theme colors. It's related. So you want to set up a color theme. Here's a small set of sample slides included in a PowerPoint template. They look great. They're harmonious. They've got cool colors, nice graphics and layouts. However, what if we add some content to a few other slide types? Ouch. You recognize those colors? Yep, those are from the default Office theme. And this is a sure sign that the palette hasn't been set up yet. If your PowerPoint template doesn't have built-in theme colors, any new content is going to appear in the default Office colors. This is going to force everyone to manually recolor things, if they even think about it or they care, and it causes a lot of rework. It also causes mismatched, non-branded decks. It's ugly and it's inconsistent. Theme colors are one of the most important parts of a PowerPoint template. They influence the look for all new content. They appear in the theme colors gallery, shape styles gallery, chart colors, table colors, smart art, picture recolor. The decisions you make here are going to influence much of the content that's created with your PowerPoint template. So you want to choose wisely, and you want to test all these colors thoroughly. Now, on a side note, it's perfectly fine to limit your colors in the presentation to a more monochromatic palette. However, if you're going to do that and you want other folks to do that as well, you have to educate and inform them. Include notes about what colors to use, what to do, what not to do. Communicate with them, either on the slides or in the margins. And Echo is going to be showing you ways to do this in just a little bit. Our advice, there is a bonus. For Excel folks, after setting up your theme colors and your theme fonts in PowerPoint, you could apply these to your Excel file. In Excel, you go to Page Layout, Themes, and then Browse for Themes. Navigate to your PowerPoint file and choose Open, and you'll get the same colors and fonts that you just set up in PowerPoint. So our advice for number 6, set up a color theme. Echo, what about number 5?
Number 5, don't add or remove placeholders. When you go into Slide Master View, you see the Slide Master, that big thumbnail, and all of the layouts below it. And as you know, this is actually how those layouts appear in the new slide gallery when you're back in normal editing view. Each layout has placeholders that are pre-formatted so people can just add their content and not have to worry too much about formatting. At least that's always the goal. But a lot of times when people start to build a PowerPoint template, they'll go into the slide master view and they'll start adding or deleting placeholders from the layouts and the masters. Don't do this. It's not helpful. If you delete all of those placeholders, here's what it looks like back in normal editing view. It's just a bunch of blank layouts, and that doesn't help anyone. So remember, placeholders are supposed to make it easy for you to add content and not have to worry too much about basic formatting. If you delete all the placeholders, then your users just start with a blank slide and they're forced to format everything by hand, and that takes a lot of time. Also, If you delete the placeholders for the footers, which are the date, the footer text, and the slide number, that can cause you a whole bunch of weird problems. So overall, just don't delete the placeholders. Also, when you copy paste slides from other files, PowerPoint is looking at a few different things to figure out which slide layout to apply. One thing it looks at is the number and the type of placeholders on the layout. So for example, here you can see a typical title and content slide. The title and content layout has one title placeholder and one content placeholder. And that is what PowerPoint expects for a title and content slide. But what a lot of people do is they go into the slide master and they add or delete placeholders to those layouts. For this example, we're adding a subtitle placeholder to the title and content layout. And now when you copy a slide from this file into your other template, PowerPoint is looking for the title and content layout to have one title placeholder and one content placeholder. But this one also has an extra text placeholder for a subtitle. So PowerPoint doesn't know what to do. And it tries really, really hard and it uses both templates. And then you end up with something like this. And you also end up with a new layout that doesn't exactly match your template formatting. We call these orphaned layouts. If you add or delete placeholders from those default 9 layouts, when people copy and paste slides, they'll end up with these orphaned layouts with a mix of formatting. If the default layouts don't look like what you want, that's actually okay, because you can override the background graphics. You can move the placeholders around, you can reformat the placeholders, just don't add or remove any of the placeholders from those default layouts. If you do need to add or delete placeholders from one of those, instead create a custom layout. Use Insert Layout, and then that creates a custom layout instead. And then you can add whatever placeholders you want. Our advice for number 5, don't add or remove placeholders from the default layouts. Over to you, Julie.
Okay, number 4, we have disappearing text. Have you ever inserted a chart on a slide and all your text labels disappeared? Or maybe the same thing happened when you inserted a text box. You start typing and you can't see any text. This can be prevented by making sure to apply the correct background style to a layout. Now, remember in number 6, our advice was to set up a color theme. This is what it looks like when you're setting it up. It's really important to understand and assign the light and dark colors. Assign light values to the light chips and dark values to the dark chips. Here are the background styles for PowerPoint's default blank template. Now, the dialogue isn't as prominent as it used to be in the interface. You may have played around with these background styles, but you didn't understand what was happening, or you probably ignored them because the background color of fill that you wanted wasn't represented here. This dialogue used to include gradient fills in the lower 2 rows, but now that the default styles are all solid, you only need to select from the top row. These chips are populated with the first 4 colors in your theme, the lights and the darks. And these background styles work in conjunction with those light and dark colors so that your text is always going to contrast with the background value. If you choose a light background style, your text is always going to default to dark 1. If you choose a dark background style, the default text will always be light 1. Light 1 and dark 1 in a color theme always represent the lightest font color and the darkest. Those are defaults, the lightest default font color and the darkest default font color. You apply a background style to a slide layout in Slide Master View. That's what we're looking at here. Now, if your entire presentation is based on dark slides, you want to go to the Slide Master and change the background style for everything. But if you only want to change one slide layout, select that slide layout. Here I've selected the title slide layout, and then you choose background styles on the ribbon. From the background styles gallery, right-click on a dark background style, and then choose Apply to Selected Layouts. This when you want white text on your slides, when you want white text on a chart, white text on your default text box, you want to force it. You're going to do that by choosing a dark background style and applying it to that layout. It forces the color to white. Now, I always think that light one, our default text color on dark slides, should always be white. I really don't think you should change that to another color. Now, after you change your background style to a dark value, you can reformat that background however you want. You can change it to a different solid color. You could change it to a gradient, maybe a picture fill like this one. The text color is going to remain white now that you've correctly applied the dark background style. So our advice for number 4, apply a background style to avoid disappearing text. Echo?
Well, as we said in the beginning, we believe that a template should help people, so we try to add instructions and guidance wherever we can. The easiest thing to do is to add prompt text. Do you see where it says click to edit master title style and click to edit master text styles? Well, you can customize that text. To add your own prompt text there, switch to slide master view and then replace the click to edit master title and text style with your own text. You just select that text, delete it, and type in your own. Now, we often add prompt text like you see here. In this case, we've instructed users to use sentence case for the slide titles, and we say click to add text or choose an icon to insert other content. This prompt text will show up when the user inserts a slide from the new slide gallery. On this slide, we've created a custom title slide layout, and we added placeholders for 3 presenters. And here we added first name, last name, and title and affiliations prompt text so people know what we're expecting them to add. This is a custom agenda layout for the same client. And here we added prompts for numbers and agenda topics. We also added a text box off the edge of the slide layout and included instructions to tell people to delete any of those placeholders that they don't need, or that they can reposition those placeholders. This is one of our custom slides where the text overlays an image. We added some instructions off slide to the right on this one to tell people how to reset the layout if the text doesn't actually appear on top of the picture for some reason. And this is what that slide looks like in master view. You can see all of the prompt text there in master view on the placeholders. Now here we added a sticker on the slide with a few tips for using icons. The sticker is just, it's a shape, an icon, and a text box all grouped together. And here it is a little larger so you can see it better and read the text. We also added a reminder on this one to remind the users to remove the sticker before they present. Now on this one, we added another sticker and we included a little screenshot on this one to show how to access the chart tools. And when we did this one, those chart tools were very, very new. So we added the sticker. But in this case, we put that sticker off the edge of the slide, so there's no chance of it appearing when someone presents. And in this case, then there's no need for a reminder to delete the sticker. And sometimes we include example slides with instructions. This is an example of a slide that we often include to give people a quick education on how to use slide layouts. And then, of course, we use a screenshot of their slide layouts. For the past few years, when our clients have a lot of layouts, we often add these extra layouts to help organize everything and help users find the type of layout they're looking for. Now, to be clear, these layouts are not intended for people to use. Those layouts don't have any placeholders. They only have a text box on the layout itself. So people using the template can't actually select the text. It's just a label. Recently, we added really large icons to those organizing slate layouts for one of our clients. And in this case, we even named his slide master, select a layout and click to apply. Now that's not appropriate for everyone, but it was just perfect for this particular client. And then finally, when our client is using non-standard fonts like Google fonts, we'll often include a slide like this to help users determine if they have all the fonts they need. So if the text in those two boxes doesn't match, they know they need to install a font. Our advice for number 3, provide guidance and instruction for your users wherever you possibly can. Julie.
Okay, number 2 in our top 10 is default objects. So when you draw a line or a shape on a slide, the way that those objects look is defined as the default. And you can change the way they look and behave in your PowerPoint template. Now, first thing you do is you draw a line and you format it with whatever color and line width you like. You can also change the cap type and join type, which can be helpful when lines are used often for diagrams and such. And the next thing you do is you're going to draw a shape. I typically draw a rectangle and add a bit of text. Now, the default shape in PowerPoint has an outline, and the default size is 18-point text. So maybe you want to change the fill color. We typically set no outline on that default shape, and maybe change the text size to perhaps the same size as the first level of your text on the slide master. In this case, size 28. And then the third object would be the default text box. And maybe you want to set this up as the same as, again, the first level of text in your slide master. You can change the size, the color, the line spacing, paragraph spacing, and some of the text box settings, like maybe margins, for instance. The next step is to right-click on each one of those objects and choose the corresponding set as default, in this case, set as default text box. You can also set the default table style in PowerPoint. You want to start by creating a small sample table. This one shows the default table style. And with that table selected, click the More button on the Table Styles gallery. And that exposes all of the table styles available in PowerPoint. You can apply a different style from here. Preferably a simple, clean style that looks great on your content slides. Please don't choose a pink table, we've seen so many templates with pink tables or pale orange tables. Yuck. Just use a style that works best with your template. Something clean and clean and simple is best. You want to right-click on that table style thumbnail and choose Set as Default. Now, in Excel, you can do the same thing. You can set a default table style, but even better, even luckier, you have the option to define a custom table style. That's something we can't do in PowerPoint. So our advice for number 2 is set the default for line, shape, text box, and table style. How about number 1, Echo?
Woohoo! Here we are at number 1. Deal with the variants. Let's say I've created a template and it looks like this. It uses Century Schoolbook as the theme fonts and it has custom colors built in. But I didn't strip the variants when I created the template. Variants appear on the Design tab in PowerPoint, and if you don't remove them, when you change slide size, you go from something like this to something like this. Do you see how the colors and fonts changed and reverted to the Office defaults? What's happened is the formatting from those variants has been applied automatically to the slides just because I changed the slide size. So how do you prevent that? It's actually easy. To keep the variants from overwriting your custom formatting, you have to remove them from your file. And to remove them, all you have to do is save the file as a template. We often say save as POTX because POTX is the PowerPoint template file type. So you'll choose File and then Save As, and then choose PowerPoint Template from the Save As Type dropdown. After you save as POTX, this is what the Variants tab will look like on the Design tab. There's no stray formatting left over to be applied to your file. Also, after you save that file as a POTX, you can then reopen it and save it again as a regular PowerPoint file, a PPTX file, because that's a little bit easier to deal with and work with in general than POTX files. But you have to save your template file as an actual template, as a POTX, once to get rid of those variants. And that is our top advice. Save as POTX.
And there you have it. that is our top 10 for tackling PowerPoint templates.
With a few little Excel bonuses on the side. Thanks for listening.
Thanks.